Okay, great. So everybody's here. We will start. You see, I have actually 12 points to talk about. I don't even think I have anything to show. It will be more discussion. So let us start. This is the AI news. Okay, by the way, everybody is welcome. And what we do is look at what was interesting as far as developer. I'm mostly interested in building stuff on AI. I just spoke to a guy who was using my software just a minute ago, and we shared we're both developers. We're both new to Windows kind of thing. And we're both finding it very easy to live your life today in AI world. All right. So that's what I think is common with many people. That is, let me see if I can open in here. Yeah, it works. Some of the news that were interesting here, the first number was that even though the Turing Award and Nobel Prize laureate, he said that programmers will become extinct. But first of all, that was very long time ago, like 20 years ago. And secondly, well, Andrew Ng simply disagrees with him. That's what it was in the 60s, but now he says just the opposite. In his opinion, Andrew Ng's opinion, it's a crime not to program. He didn't use that word, but he pretty much was there. Okay, that is what he said, and there were a few other things. So they advertise courses, but what was interesting here is that there are lots of models, things coming up all the time. That I think is the illustration of my major point is that today there are 12 pieces of news to talk. We may not even have the time to talk about everyone. So everybody gives us new models. Everybody lowers the price, except for $20,000 a month OpenAI. Supposedly that's some brilliant PhD level reasoner, but don't try it as yet because it's not out. So nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what you get for 20,000. That reminds me an old joke that if there is a new Apple product, then it doesn't matter what it does and doesn't matter how much it costs, you'll buy it. Well, kind of the same in AI today. Oh, one interesting piece of news is that here. So we know that there are a few lawsuits that were filed, and they were all about your AI trained itself on my data, so very bad. But it worked out very reasonably. Andrew mentioned that there is no body of law, and the copyright body of law was written before AI. I'll give you an example. That's not exactly AI. That is what happened to Google when they published the books.google.com. So what happened is that if you take the regular concept of it's a book in the public domain, at least you didn't stop it from being in the public domain, and therefore I can put it in my computer and on my website, and that's what Google did. And you didn't take yourself out of that, then it should be fair. Well, yes, kind of, yes, it was fair a long time ago when the law was written. But today it's not fair, but because if you have such massive computer, then it's unreasonable to expect people to opt out. And so the question becomes opt out or opt in. Now, in this case, and that question is new, that's an example of a law that didn't exist before. Now, what didn't exist before is, of course, AI training on my published book. Nobody argues that you can read the book, right? Uh, Woody Allen is the only one who says copyright is prohibited and a special question about reading. But nobody else says that. So yes, you can read the book and become smarter. But if you're building AI based on that book, and then if that AI competes with you, that's the key point. it competes with me, the make of the book, then the judge has ruled that's not fair. It's kind of, yes, you are allowed to read it, but don't use it to train your AI. Now, actually, I've done something similar to forewarn, to forestall that kind of thing. I asked a guy to write a blog that would summarize the book, and then nobody would have any problem. But that a lot of work. So we did it for no big reason. Nobody sued us. But the idea, you see, it will be a gray area, and nobody knows exactly how the law will work. Here, it worked out well. So if Ross Intelligence stole or at least used Thomson Reuters books, maybe that's okay. But when they use it to compete with Thomson Reuters, that was not okay. That was one conclusion. But other conclusions were he mentions other lawsuits where fair use is one thing, but using AI to train other people's data, it's another thing. That's the couple pieces of news that I wanted to show you. And now, amazing thing. So I subscribed to this AI forums. That's what I did. And as I subscribed, I got an email from them. They talk about amazing things. They talk about how you can use AI in music, how you can use AI in math. It's all here. And how you can expect if everybody will be out of work. So I found all of that very interesting. I'll tell you what I've done. I'm here. I have taken all these links and I sent them to myself, and I'm going to listen to all of them. That's what I prepared. Now you can do that too if you want. Here, back to this. Sorry, not what I wanted to show. This is it right here. So I found that all very interesting because when anybody talks, sorry to kick journalists once again, but when journalists talk about AI and music, that is suspicious. But when musicians talk about that, you will listen. The same way, there is a lecture about AI and math, but when it's the Fields Award recipient talks about that, then it makes sense. The Fields Award is given to mathematicians instead of a Nobel Prize. So I found it interesting. Some of them are in the future, some of them are already past, and therefore you can listen to them right away. Open, you don't even need to sign up. And the reason I'm showing all of that to you rather than just summarizing is because this is all very valuable. To follow the idea that to become smarter, what you do is learn from smart people and watch them at this time. Okay, so that's why I'm showing you that. I'm closing it now. Okay, and I'm opening the comments here on chat. Okay, very good. So Tom from Boulder, Colorado, and then Greg, if anybody wants to connect. Then which newsletter are you viewing, Paul? That's exactly the question I wanted you to ask. This is what I got after I subscribed. Well, I have saved it so that I have it easily available. If you have that link, Paul, that link, okay, and open that, then you have all the links, and every link will work. And that one is what I was showing. So I was getting a newsletter from OpenAI, but they have a couple. So that is about all of their forums that they run. Now you see what it is. If you simply go to that link, you will be able to find this newsletter. If you want to subscribe, I'm sure they will have a link how to subscribe to this letter at the end of it. And I guess that was your question, right? So that was, yeah, the badge, but it's another edition of the badge. It's called Badge About Forums. Now, a very important question. Greg picked up on that. Does this judgment have implications on the court ruling on using free web pages for image model training? That's a great question, and I would say it does. He was not ruling about images, but I can imagine lawyers saying, okay, I don't have the exact same case, but they have a very similar case, and I'm showing it to you. And that's one of the first judgment that was ever passed. If you want to check more about that, let's do it. Okay, but these were the news. Now, Manus autonomous agent. Let's look at what is that. Now, what that is a Chinese piece of news coming out of China, pretty much the same importance as the DeepSeek. DeepSeek came out just what, maybe 4 weeks ago. Well, this Manus is current. The only thing is that you can only listen to that. You can only listen to how great things will be and how you will be able to use this agent who will not ask you what to do. It will just start and finish. And they kind of gloss over, after all, who is deciding what to do. But really, it's you. Right now, it's still you. Even though I have read an interesting security newsletter about AI systems with authorizations to kill, that they take that decision. But that's already too far. So if my secret is that yes, I was asking ChatGPT also, and if you look, it will plainly tell you that it's not available as yet. So sometime in the future, maybe it talks about it's not just another chatbot. It makes many moves on its own, but that's not such a big piece of news, I would say. That is the same thing that OpenAI just put out. That is the same thing as computer use by Anthropic. And in the end, I would compare this Manus to other systems who are similar and they do the same thing. What's important is that it's a trend. Definitely a trend. I just saw Microsoft putting out a similar thing, and under different names, just to confuse you better, they essentially give you a complete agent. It can read your screen, it can work. By the way, Manus mentions that it can work on multiple computers at the same time. It can take decisions, it can understand. One way is to talk about that as an intern, smart intern, and I like that analogy. I use it myself. Okay, that is Manus autonomous agent. The next is DocLink. That's a discovery made by my fellow programmer. Marlon is his name. And if you go into not docking, but really DocLink, you will see that there is another competitor to the recent addition that Paul added. That's OCR. That is OCR, but it is more oriented towards being a very smart OCR and preparing essentially multiple document formats to be consumed by AI systems. That's what it is, but it's a significant entry. First of all, it says it's the best and the first repository of the day. Second of all, you can look at all the people who are part of the project here, and you will see that it's quite an important list of people, and then a lot of here, a lot of forks, lots of stars. We already use it. Yes, it works. We use it because we do exactly that. We take police forms, we need to convert them intelligently, and then we send it to AI. So that's another interesting link for your use, guys. If you missed it, guys and girls, if you missed it, that is where it is. called doc link. Okay, closing that, going back. Cortical labs. That's a very interesting thing, and I didn't even put the link here because somehow it was here but disappeared. So the cortical links grows some of the human, I'm not exact, grows some of the human brains in a lab, combines it with AI, and the AI, you have a computer that is half human and half AI. Now, if that sounds terrible, that's because I didn't say it correctly. I just wanted to emphasize, kind of, I was playing this same journalist that I myself don't raise all the time, but you cannot buy it right now. What will happen is you can click on buy now, and you will go on the list saying that, yeah, I'm interested, but $35,000 is the cost, and that's sometime in the future. But at least I thought that's interesting enough. So if somebody mentions this kind of, here's the a live computer, it I think it's 500 days that your computer dies. That at least the biological part of it. So as interesting as it sounds, we don't really know what it is and cannot really buy it. That was cortical labs. Now that one, I already showed it to you once. And what I was interested, we have it, it's part of our course. So if we go back to our, what I call education, that is here. So when people come here, they often ask, well, if I want to learn about AI, what should I do? I give them that list. And that list is open, and it will open for you as well. And you will see courses, some of them have numbers. When they have numbers, that means we have brought it into our repository and tried it. Actually, you can look it up. It says who tried it and what the results were. This is me, that's an associate, that's an intern, and if it says ready and I agree ready, that's completely ready. And you can probably run it if you give it the right keys. So nothing in this world is permanent, we know that, and nothing is current in the AI. So something that worked half a year ago has no guarantee that it's the best and that it will still work, but more or less you can rely on that. So, well, that's what you could learn if you wanted to learn about AI. And that one, I already showed it to you here. Which one? This one. AI 21. Yes, I showed it to you here. It looked like the biggest advantage was that they have a huge amount of tokens that you can send. Well, as such, it wasn't extremely interesting. But if you look at the company, you will see that they are a startup out of Israel, that they were there 5 years before this AI boom started, that their major impetus is document processing in a more enterprise and smart way than ChatGPT. All right, now you know where that stands, and if you have very industrial application, it is still not local machine. You still go with the API. So as such, it pretty much competes with ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, I personally wouldn't compete. Well, but who am I? Now, what I mean is this, and Sam Altman said it. He said that at first people were kind of betting that the AI will not get better. But now he says 95% of the people bet on the AI actually, yes, to get better. And whatever you think is an improvement, well, think twice before you do an improvement. Maybe they will do it. But that is about this company. Then windsurf. So what is windsurf? I promise that I will at least try. Okay, let me show you what is windsurf. It's very easy to install. The instruction worked. I installed it. And then I tried to bring um, my Java project. You even see the little, how would say it, remainder of my attempt to bring that project under that. Well, it's kind of what it promises you is that it will write code for you. Well, by now, other IDEs also write code for you, and that was not enough. So yeah, I tried it. It looks good when you do the canned demo. That works wonderful, and it runs a game and you can talk to it. But by now, so the claim is that it's a better idea for AI. Well, now what I'm doing is I'm still running IntelliJ, and I have to say that their AI improved tremendously. That was the major complaint, that you guys are the leader in IDE, but you are not now. It doesn't open because I need to map the drive. Now it will open. So yeah, I opened it, and I'll show you where is the AI. It's right here. Now that AI was like $100 a year. Well, we're used to not paying that much, right? And at first I thought it's not even as good as anything, but now I can tell you it is very good. And that particular piece of code was completely written by it. I asked it, I have a loop. In this loop, which I call standard, I'm going through the zip file all at once. Please write a similar loop, but that will go in separate threads. Well, that's what it wrote. It used executor services, the right thread, then it somehow decided to use 4 threads. I'll have to change it, but that's already reasonable interaction and cooperation between AI, this is the part, and me, and this is the part. And then when I ran it, of course, it didn't work because it didn't know that I have some singletons, and you cannot simply send it to different threads. So the end result is that this windsurf is fun thing. If you want it to write your code very well, you can do it, but it is best starting from scratch. There you will tell it, do a game for me, and it will do it. If you have your own project, well, probably IntelliJ or any other IDE that you use together with AI is better than going to strictly AI IDE. All right. Taking a little breath, looking in the comments. Yes, Windsurf is a bit cheaper than Cursor. I have not tried Cursor, by the way. I think I must. And what? For a free version is both limited in the number of lines of code per period of time. The OpenAI canvas is now simple Python execution. Oh, so you're saying that OpenAI is from Canvas, but I thought Canvas is just their way of presenting a document that you will work together. Are you saying that OpenAI Canvas is now a programmer tool? Well, I mean, how do we work today? We say chat, right? Say, is that true? No, it's not true. So I don't know what Greg meant. Yes, Lance, that's exactly my question. Is there an AI agent that will learn the entire code base? It's not that smart. And that's already going into a theoretical question. Will it ever be? Because humans are pretty much on the level of AI. And humans, it takes some time to understand, not to learn the code base. So that you have search even if you don't have AI, but to understand that, oh, remember I have a singleton in that place. How would it know that that's a key? So I would say no, maybe never. Maybe that's AI is not smarter than we are, but pretty much the same. So we share the load. It does the tedious stuff and never tires. Okay. And maybe a context limitation also. Okay, all right. So I think we agree. But let's go back to where we were. We were going through that list of interesting things, and we were just using stopped right here. So here, agentic document extraction that comes from Andrew Ng. What they do, of course, very nice demos if you want to watch a video, and you can get to that video. I'm not giving you that link because it's there anyway. But document extraction is, well, sorry, Andrew, but it's a glorified AI with images. You could do it, but he makes it nice and it's already there and it's already working and you can try it. That's the big deal. So he says, look at that form, right? Who in his mind would want to uh, understand that? But we did. There you are. Not only that, you can even chat with the document. Since this is kind of what I work directly with all the time, police forms, ABI forms, then it looks promising. In my case, however, I cannot send it directly to Andrew's interface because there's a document with limited distribution, and I shouldn't be. Instead, I'm sending it to OpenAI residing under Azure government, which is acceptable. So, looks nice, works nice, and maybe when you don't want to build your own AI, but just want to use an existing system, well, maybe it's great. Maybe I should tell you, since I'm showing you everything, I should show you that I'm closing that in my own work, it's getting more and more complex. And I'm also doing document processing. And one of the projects is rep forms. What I want to show you is that our requirements for forms and understanding this form keep growing. And we have already many different versions of prompt. Prompt for the Placer County in California, prompt for Santa Barbara. They're slightly different, but not all that much different. So it takes us about a day or two to prepare a new prompt, and then it works perfectly well. People who are working with us, by now they used to 100% correct answers. So that shows you they can only get 20% error rate, no better than that. And at 20% error rate and at 80% conversely of correct answers, it's just as good as nothing because that you still need the human completely to do the same boring work. With AI, we're getting 100% correct results after we do the debugging. And I'm showing you, let me show you the one example, like prompt for personal data. So they added one requirement. They said, up until now, you didn't care about the person's PII, personally identifiable information. Now we do. So please add that to the columns that you're extracting. That's exactly the format that you would see. I'm saying from mail address, extract the mail address, even though it could probably understand that. But I'm precise. And resident and address, that's also the same thing. So when you are extracting mailing address, keep in mind that it's either this or that on the form. Now, if you look at it, that's how you would talk to a human. That's how you would instruct the famous, we call him intern, right? That's what you would tell the intern and say, well, I told you enough, you will figure it out after that. That's our instructions, and they work very well. And then it turns out that they break the previous instruction. It's a regular programmer problem. So we add one more parameter and we're asking, well, if you need personal data, put this to yes. If you know, put this to no. And altogether that works. That is how our practical projects look. And that's not much different from what I'm showing you, all these tools. But with agentic from Ender N, you would have it already. So, but then you wouldn't have control and you would not fulfill the security requirement. Then, have you worked much with Anthropic Model Context Protocol? Well, honestly, I have not. Okay, but since I was preparing that, I found that ChatGPT gives the summaries quicker than I do. And together, ChatGPT and me, we can. I started here. I started finding out. My first question was this Manus, does it work? And the answer was not yet. And then how do you compare? So it gives enough information to you if you understand what you're doing. It's like kind of give me an orchestra and give me the printed notes, and together you and I can do it. So question was MCP, which stands for Anthropic Model Context Protocol. And what it does is allows you use the API, and these APIs, you still have to define your case, and you still have to do the rest of the work. You use their server, and that's pretty much along the line of you create a more and more independent AI application. That is how you do it. Connect to their model, set up security and permissions. So you still have to do quite a lot of work. All of that work is described here. And the summary is that you can create a complete scenario on AI. Okay, so I went too fast from it through that, but it was when I was preparing it and I was reading, it made complete sense. Now that I'm summarizing it real quick, maybe it's not that easy. So what was this Ragas? It was how do you make sure that your next AI application built with the RAG architecture, how do you make sure that it's correct? And that explained how you make sure that it's correct and where do you put all these things that tested. So it makes sense. It seems to work. You just have to do the work. All right, let's go back. So I would say no, RAG is not my favorite yet because honestly, I'm not doing it yet. But it is one approach that I would surely try. It all makes sense. It's very logical. And let's start from that framework. Then we'll try others. For that, I need to be within the project maturity where that is required. Okay, we are already at 11. I am writing a course, AI and security. What that means is that we will secure, or somebody will secure your AI installation. In other words, you're a master of AI applications, but now hackers are also masters of their trade. So how do you live together? That is a book. I asked one of the two hackers that I know. One of them is Jeremiah Grossman, a legendary figure, but another one is R. Snake. Snake, also quite legendary, and it happens that the answer my question. So I asked, what about security? And the arsenic Robert Hansen answered that here's a book. I bought that book. It's right there in the back of my room. And it's much more high level musings about AI will need a friend, and better that Robert Hansen will be its friend. That's the direction. But Robert Hansen is high up. He testifies in front of the Congress, and he makes sense, unlike some people who may be talking about AI in front of the Congress. So I read the book, nice book, and I like this. You talk to AGI girlfriend, and you say, "Are you a jealous AGI girlfriend?" And it answers, "Are you thinking about another AGI, perhaps?" So that's what I found very funny. But for the rest, it was a refreshing view, high level, how philosophical it may turn out. But it didn't help me. So I'm creating a complete course on how to protect your AI applications. And I'm also writing a book on that. Let's see. No, they didn't answer. The book will be about exactly the same. Since I'm writing a course, it makes sense to also write it in a book. That's what I wanted to show you here. Anybody who wants to contribute, I'm listening. And finally, and I was planning to put it in here, but say that it's too early. This is AI announcing new tools for building agents. Well, everybody today builds agents, right? And they announced it at when? March 11, 3 days ago. So I thought I'll put it in with the intention that I will really talk about it next time. Otherwise, it will be too much. And besides, I didn't have the time to do it. But that's what is now announced. Those same tools that they use. Let me show you how I mean they use. So let's say I am here, and I can say which topic. Okay, so he didn't say anything about I'm using web search. So could I please stop it and say use your web search tool? Because if I don't say it, it just decides on its own when to use it, when not. Now I'm saying, by the way, it didn't stop and ask to. And now I'm saying use your web search tool. Could you stop and just, one conductor, he said to his mistress, he said, could you please stop playing and let me do conducting? Well, that's what I'm trying to do, right? So now it will say yes, agree. I am using, it said, if you maybe saw that, it said searching the web and giving you the latest. Well, that's what I wanted to show, that they now promise you have direct access to that. You can have an API which will allow to take directions. You're saying, now, first of all, do the web search, do the file search. Computer use is a trademark term that they stole from Anthropic, but it's not copyrightable, so they call it computer use, and all other things that they will come up. That sounds interesting, sounds like you can build agents. I already have one of the labs about building agents. It is right here. So if you go into the learning tab at the very bottom, one of the very, very latest evaluating AI agents, I think. One of these, so it doesn't matter which one. Let's search for agent. All about agent. But I saw a wonderful lab that just gave you a regular agent building framework. I thought that was very nice because I have one for Amazon, pretty much here. There's one, but these agents run inside of Amazon and you don't see them. And besides, they break often. This one, maybe. No, not this one. But in any case, I have one for Amazon. That one seems to be independent. You just run your code here. Each agent is running in its own thread, as you would expect, and therefore they work together. Well, that seems that OpenAI just came up with just another framework for agents. Okay, we covered it all. Let's see what you people have to say. Greg gives a talk, AI and security book. Wow, that's very nice. So, Greg, I do this. I recorded. That is one. And you say I'm very informal. I must have your email here, right? Okay, and that way we'll talk about that, okay? Now, another thing is that a recommendation for a cost-competitive service that can run different models without installing it on my machine. Yuri, so let me ask and make sure I understand. So you want to run different models, but different models usually are APIs, and you don't have to install them on your machine. So the way I understand your questions is that you probably mean those models that you want to run locally, but you don't want to install them on your machine. And here I'm confused. So it's either API or it's locally. And also you give an example of Abacus AI. So let's look at least at your example. It has access to that. So I think that one thing is what I should do is that preparing for the next run, for the next week, I am making a copy of that. And that is the one that I didn't hope to get it right anyway. We'll do it next time. Another one is exactly what Yuri just suggested. So going back to the chat here. Okay, what you suggested is this one. So at least I will ask your question and give your link, and hopefully we'll get to that. Number two next week. And then I saw a question from Bhairavi, and will there be a recording? And the answer is yes. So all recordings are found here. If I go to Elephant Scale webinars, right here, and that's probably how you got to this webinar. Then you see all the recordings, 92. Okay. And by the way, it's a wonderful question that you asked because my assistant, she pointed out that, look, we're at 92. So today we are at 93. That means that we are just 7 weeks away from webinar number 100. And she said, let us do something fun for 100. And I asked, well, what do you want? Do you want to give presents? Do you want to have a special presentation. Well, all of our presentations are kind of special. I'm not sure what we should do, but what should we do? Or, and I like these reactions. What should we do for the webinar number 100? So if you have any idea, just tell us and maybe we will do it. Meanwhile, the answer to you, Ravi, is this. It is this link, and that's where all the recordings are. Now, what we have last is 0307, and today is 0314, so that's current. And therefore, after some necessary cleaning, today will be also published. Okay, if you don't have any idea right now, maybe you will have some idea. But right now, we go back. That's what we wanted to cover. We did cover that. I also wanted to start the next one, and that is right here, 21. And with that, I'm saying big, big thanks, a note of appreciation. That's because I really love your feedback. I love even more the work that I'm doing in the sense that I'm forced to do it, right? I need to, because I know that next Friday I'll have to present you with something, and for that I'm thankful and grateful. So everybody be well, everybody have a great weekend and a great year to come. Okay. I'm going through the 12 days of OpenAI and I will see Canvas there. I was very impressed with Canvas, but the Canvas that I saw was just like that. Chat. What you do is use Canvas. And then you say, business. What it does then, it takes over, changes the format. Watch. Right now it's starting. We're writing the business plan. Then it will change the format. Here's your business plan. Here's your input. And that's what I really like showing to people. And it talks about how smart it is about changing the format and Canvas deciding when to invoke itself. I didn't see any coding. Well, you write some code in Canvas? And keep in mind that I show it often to other people. And because of that, I see the progression. They change it almost every week. They decide what to do. It's just a different way to show people how they can use AI. That's what that is. And I guess they experimented every week how to best promote it, because you could do the same thing without Canvas, but in ChatGPT it's the same. All right. Okay, so I picked your interest and then you probably commented again. Exactly. Okay. VS Code is a popular platform not only as far as coding, but also as far as connecting other models to that. So anybody who wants to show how great their model is, usually you take VS Code as something that is free, completely open, and you can build your tutorial about using your model on VS Code. That's what I've seen. Yes. And we're not going into security right now. But my friend was showing to his group of CEOs how AI is already on their computer and how it already is doing stuff that they didn't know about, and how because of that big bank took themselves out of GDPR compliance because they discovered that they were not compliant. That is, however, is what a cool talk, and I try to avoid it. So okay, everybody have a great time, and we'll meet again.